Hello, I'm Moira O'Neill, editor of MoneyWise, and today we're talking property investing. I'm here with Christian Fays, who is co-founder and CEO of Lend Invest. Christian.
Hi, Moira.
Can I ask about our nation's love affair with property? Why do we love property so much?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's a property-obsessed nation, isn't it? And I come from Australia, and it's very much the same situation there as well. I think it's a generational thing. I think our parents, or certainly my parents, aspired to own the family home. So I think that's something that gets passed on from generation to generation.
Now, a lot of people will say my property is my pension. Is there anything wrong with that? What should we think about that?
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I do think that people need to rethink property and property as an investment. I think we all hear popular stories about the property market sort of going up forever, and people making huge amounts of money in the property market, but that's not always the case. And I think if you look at it as an investment asset class, there's many instances where property actually isn't that great an investment. Certainly from a yield perspective, you don't earn the best return in many areas of the country. And now, there's additional costs like stamp duty and so forth that people really should consider and look and really question whether they should be investing in property.
So what are the biggest risks of a property investment?
I think there's a lot of risks actually. Obviously you've got market turns, so property is cyclical, so there'll be ups and there will be downs as well. Generally it's a steadily growing sector, and it's a place to invest money. Risks, I think as a buy-to-let investor, you really need to consider things like what happens if your tenant can't pay the rent. So rental voids are a big issue. If you can rent the property but you've rented it to a tenant that perhaps isn't the best quality tenant, they might destroy the property or cause damage, so you may have additional costs there. So I think there's a lot of sort of uncertainties around what sort of costs you may incur as a property holder. And then of course, rents vary as well, so rents can go down as well as go up. So I think it's a relatively speculative investment asset class, and it does carry quite a degree of risk.
So what would be your top tip for somebody who wants to invest in property?
Top tip for a property investor, I think consider the alternatives. I think these days you don't have to necessarily directly invest in property. There's marketplace platforms out there where you can get exposure to the asset class online. And so I think, for some people that's a really interesting alternative. And perhaps, if they don't want to go through the hassle of actually finding a property and the conveyancing process is one that's, time consuming and costly and all the rest of it, there are alternatives out there, and I would encourage people definitely to have a look at those.
A lot of people would say the best thing to do is to know your market in property. Would you agree with that?
I think that should definitely be the case if you're investing in property directly. One of the interesting things we've found on the Lend Invest platform is there's often a correlation that people are trying to get out of their local area. So if they're an investor based in London, then perhaps they like investing in, or that we see that they like to invest in loans outside of London. So it may be that they already own a property that they live in perhaps, or they've got other exposure, and through Lend Invest they can sort of diversify their exposure as well, so they can sort of pick loans in different areas of the country. And so, yeah, I think it's a local game if you're investing directly. If you're going through an alternative type platform, then spreading risk is a good thing.
Great, Christian, thank you very much for talking to MoneyWise.
Thank you.